the meeting of the Htro, Homer Township Republican Organization of 7/31/23. Can everyone please rise for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, and then for our prayer, we have Diane Wilhelmsen. Did I say that right? Wilhelmsen. Okay, Diane's going to give us some prayer.
Lord, we ask you that you look over this community and this group of people here who are striving to make their community even better than it is. We thank you for the blessings you have given us and for the freedoms that we have and enjoy in this great country. And we hope that we ask that you will guide us as we try to make this country and our community even better. In your name, amen.
Amen. Okay, I'd like to do roll call. Start with you, Jen.
Precinct 1, Mike Bonomo, present.
Present.
Precinct 2,
Present.
Precinct 3, Precinct 4, Precinct 5, Precinct 6,
Here.
Precinct 7,
Fialco, present.
Precinct 8,
Here.
Precinct 9, Precinct 10, Precinct 11, present. Precinct 12,
Pasmino here.
Precinct 13, Precinct 14, present. Precinct 15, Precinct 16, Bozen, present. Precinct 17, Andy is here. Precinct 18, Precinct 19.
Clausen, present.
Okay. All right, do we do a roll call for the executive board then as well?
President,
Jen Castellano.
Steve Ballard, Chair.
Pasmino, co-chair.
Rose Reinders, treasurer.
Jay Rhodey, vice chair.
Christina Clausen, vice chair.
Okay. All right, we're going to start off with the chairman report. Steve, go ahead. Start off.
And first thing I'm going to do is call Mike Clausen up here. I'm going to say a few words here. On behalf of the Clausen family, we wanted to present a gift that we hope you accept to the Homer Township Republicans. It's an American-made flag out of American materials, handmade, and we thought it would be a nice gesture. Htro office. Okay, my report short and sweet. The summer's here, we're having a good time, but we got to remember that elections will be coming up real soon. The committeeman will be up, the 2024 elections with President Trump will be up, and the reason that we have George, this gentleman here that will be speaking today, is because the whole thing about the election coming up is we got to win. And we're not going to win unless we really work it hard. So all the committeemen that are here and the ones that aren't here, we're going to have to send them an email and call them. But the duties of a committeeman are in the back of the agenda. And we really got to get out and knock the doors and do things that are uncomfortable as far as time. But if we don't do it, we're not going to win. So that's going to be the message going forward. And we want to try our best to be inclusive with all the Republicans that we normally disagree with. You know, ones that we call rhinos or dinos or all these goofy names. But the whole idea behind it is that in Homer Township, the Democrats can win if the Republicans don't come out or the Republicans split. We got to pull everybody together and defeat the Democrats, because they're coming. They smell blood in the water. So they think they can beat us? Well, they're going to have to work really damn hard to beat us. So with that, I'm going to sit back down and give it back to Jay.
All right, we have a co-chair report, Ruben.
Yes, quick one. Good to see everybody here. So mine's really quick. We went ahead in the last executive meeting, we approved a small amount of money for the new updated homergop.com. Now, we do have something out there, but we hired a company who's going to go ahead and update and put a lot of different things out there for us, okay? So some of these items that I'm going to mention are going to be updated events, precinct info, links to the county, links to the Board of Elections, donation button, of course, to the Htro, signing up for events. One of them is the concealed carry, which we have another one coming up soon. And then now we're going to have an app. Now, the nice thing about apps, and everybody knows, the access is available to you a lot quicker. It's going to have push technology. We'll be able to reach everybody in an instant. So if something's going down, you'll know right away. You don't have to call 1,000 people one by one. So that's pretty much all we got. If you have any suggestions, once we log on to the site of course is homergop.com, let us know. Because everybody here knows technology, right? Everybody here has suggestions, so anything, well, most people. And if you have anything that you want to say, just let us know. We're more than happy to oblige. All right? That's all I got. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, Vice Chair reports. I'll start off with Christina Clausen. You have anything, Chris?
I don't have anything.
Okay. As for myself, what's it?
We don't have specifics yet.
Okay, as far as my report, I just want to let people know, if you don't have an agenda on your chair or something in the back of the room, we also have an attachment at the back of the room as well that you'll see. It goes alongside with Carmen Morella's presentation a little bit later. And then there's something that came to me from a friend of ours, Teresa Scarletti. It's a Hope for Justice flyer. You know, part about what we want the Htro to be moving in the future isn't just going to be about politics. This is Hope for Justice. This is a nonpartisan issue. It's really not getting a lot of traffic in the news, but people in the country are waking up, and it's due to human trafficking. They are going to be having a seminar right here at Lincoln Way on, looks like 10 a.m. on September 9th. So that handout is there. I encourage you to, look at it, check it out, go to their website, and maybe even tell some friends about it. Awareness is part of combating the problem. With that being said, we are going to go to the Treasurer's Report. That's going to be Rose Reinders.
Okay, I'm not standing behind here because you won't be able to see me. Just a couple of things. I am officially the treasurer of the Homer Township Republican Organization. Steve took me to the bank. We signed all the forms, and I am now officially the signer on the checkbook. In the spirit of transparency, I want to let everybody know that right now we've got about $5,700 in the bank, and we plan on raising more funds. Christine and I and Carmen, our chef, will be working, and Vicki Bozen will be working on the chili cook-off. So we plan to start doing more events to raise money for the Htro, because we want to be able to start to do more things for the community. And if we don't have the money, we're not going to be able to do it. So this is our way of bringing the community together. So with that, and then the rent for our Htro office is now paid up till November 11th. That's our report.
Thank you, Rose. Okay, we have the Secretary report. John, do you have one today?
No report. I will be reaching out to our committeemen probably in about a week in regards to getting you guys registered to register for votes.
Okay.
Jay, I forgot to say something.
All right. Oh, come on. We've got time.
All right, I had a rough day today, so I forgot something that was important. Homer Township and the Homer Township Republican organizations teamed up to do a micro pantry for humans and animals. And it's called Fishies and Loaves, and there's 2 locations. We send out emails and stuff, but I want to make sure everybody knows that we have Narcan in there for people that need it, and we have stuff for dogs and cats, and maybe turtles, and we have stuff for people. And so one location is next to the Htro office, 14320 Golden Oak Drive, and the other location is at the township to the toward the football field, in front on the side of the building. So you can go there and donate food, or you can go there and get food and tell people about it. So if they need food, that's the whole idea, to go there and get the food. So anyway, we thank everybody for doing that before you even do it.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, precinct commitment reports. I know we have some precinct commitment in the crowd. If anybody has a report, just raise your hand and then stand up and give it to us. No report?
I have something. I just want to give kudos to Nicole Laha because she sent out an awesome newsletter. I do have she gave me the Word document. I think it is an absolute amazing idea to do this. So if anybody wants it, I will forward it over, and I think, it's something we should be doing. She walked houses, she mailed this out, so.
192, I think she said.
Yeah, so.
In her precinct.
Yeah,
So for committeemen, what we'll do it, we'll make sure.
We'll talk more about it.
We'll talk more about it, but we'll get you the same format. Nicole has agreed to let us use it for all the committeemen.
Yep.
And it was real inspiring. In fact, it actually included tonight's meeting on it. So
Yep.
we'll get that out so you guys can see what we're working with, all right? Okay, so we have a couple of guest speakers tonight. Our first person is a presentation by George Wilhelmsen. Did I say that right? Perfect. Okay. Mr. Wilhelmsen was part of the Grundy County team in 1996, which took Grundy County from a 60-40 Republican to Democrat ratio to a 90-10 ratio. He is here to talk about how to win political campaigns. George, all yours.
My wife's stuck in the lights. Let me give you a little bit of background on who is this guy. It wasn't 96 when we did that. It was actually in the last 6 years. So think about that. When the chips are all going towards the Democrats, Grundy hold races away from Democrat incumbents in hard D districts. They have conquered the county board. They are down to a token of resistance. They have all the government offices but one. How did they do it? One word: unity. They are united. So beyond that, a little bit more. It says campaign manager, Citizens for Spangler.
Can I just, hey, Jay, would you be able to move that podium so we can see the screen?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I don't need a podium.
All right. Thank you.
I'm going to speak for We ran against a guy named David W. Neal. Anyone ever heard of Dave? Wouldn't surprise me if you did, because he ran for state rep, he ran for state's attorney, then changed and went for congressman, lost that, went for state rep, bumping out someone who had already signed up to run for state rep, and ran against my guy, Steve Spangler. So I ran against an incumbent state's attorney in Grundy County with a candidate that had school board and a little bit of county board experience. And we whomped him, 65%. I was there when we got the concession call. One of the best days of my life. I've run political campaigns in the state race. I've worked with the House Republican organization. I was on the team that killed off Kilbride, that came up with a strategy on how we were going to knock him out. Unfortunately, we failed in getting Republicans into those seats, and now we have Democrat sycophants who literally have been bought and paid for by Pritzker, who vote for his agenda. That's a cost of democracy we can't afford. So a little bit more I've actually done presentations on how to win political campaigns. After you see this one, if you'd like, I can come back. It takes about 4 hours. Typically, you buy breakfast for the people.
Okay.
It's kind of a mercy killing thing. And I'm a consultant to this day to the Republican County chairs in Grundy County. Maybe we'll see Homer. They call me when something weird happens, and I tell them how to pilot their way through it. There's a reason for that. They're in Grundy, now I'm in Ogle. It's a lot easier when you're not in the line of fire to look at a problem and go, put the fire hose there. So don't give me too much credit. What I can tell you is I've been in politics since 1976 when I was out sticking up yard signs for my uncle Ken Gillis on poles in Bremen Township, and I was pole watching at Scarlet Oak School. And some damn fool got a job at LaSalle County Nuclear Station, which is 73 miles away, and I relocated to Grundy County, and that's where I stuck for quite a long time until I finally got relocated up to Rochelle, where I live now at the corners of Nowhere. But let's get on to what we're actually here to talk about, which is how we're going to fix this. Now, I want you to remember, what has been seen cannot be unseen. I'm going to present you with some startling ideas. I'm going to take you back to 1996. We're going to time travel today. Now I'm going to show you the way things used to be and what we have to change today to win. So remember this. Don't let it go to waste. So there's some things we can agree on as Republicans. As Republicans, we are the party that believes in a hand up, not a hand out. We don't want to build dependency. We want to build independence. We believe that people should be free to determine what they do and not have the government micromanage them and tell them where they can go and when. We believe that less taxes stimulate development in our economy. We also believe that each person should be able to pursue their dreams without being hampered by excessive government regulations. And that smaller government does a better job than larger government. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
These are our basic principles. So here's another question to ponder. Have you ever heard a Democrat call another Democrat a Dino?
Yes. Today.
Themselves, yes. But have you ever heard a Democrat call another Democrat a Dino? Have you ever heard a Democrat call another Democrat a Bidenomics lover?
No.
Have you ever heard another Democrat say the guy's a bumbling stumble and we need to get him out of office? There's whispers, but no one is calling out the obvious elephant in the room. The guy can't even walk. Why do you think that is? Let me tell you, remember when Republicans won elections? Did we win it with a minority? No, we didn't win with a minority. Did we win by gathering all the Republicans, all of our views, and some Democrats and independents, much to our surprise, under one big tent, one central theme and message, and get us to go in that direction? Yes, we did. We did. So what changed? We did. We accepted a divided Republican Party. We are working together. Instead of working together, we label people who we disagree with as rhinos, or never Trumpers, or Trumpers. Take your pick. When we do that, we divide ourselves because we are literally divided as a party right now. And when we are divided, our voters don't come out. When we are divided, the independents see it, they swing to the Democrats because we aren't cohesive, because we're attacking each other. We have to stop. Democrats actually love us doing this. They think it's fantastic. We're doing their job for them. We're giving them opposition research to attack our Republican candidates in the general election. They're gobbling it up. They can't thank us enough. We're doing their work for them. I don't know if any of you have done opposition research. It's not easy. We're mining it and handing it to them. If we want to win, we can and we must change. How can we win if we're divided? We can't, and we won't. Look at the 22 midterm election. Biden-Harris approval rating, horrible. The economy was a wreck. Inflation skyrocketing. The cost of gasoline going up and up and up. It's $4.15 a gallon out here. I went to the gas station to pay for my gas. The guy blushed. Look at all those negatives on the Democrats. All on their watch. A giant negative anchor around their neck. And what happened? We had enough ammunition to slay dragons, much less the administration that's there right now. A red wave was expected. We barely got a red tide. Yes, we pulled the House. Not with a large margin, but we lost the Senate. We didn't get the Senate. We were expected to get the Senate. Now, I'm not going to go do a forensic analysis of every race we lost. They all have a lot of common elements. That's not why we're here. All that ammunition, though, was wasted. And ask yourself why. When you do, you have to remember the great uniter of the Republican Party. The guy who did produce a wave, former President Ronald Reagan. His approach, he won by gathering all Republicans, and some independents and some Democrats, Dixiecrats, under his big tent. He said there's enough room for all Republicans in the big tent. Did he call them rhinos, people he disagreed with? No. He won by uniting us, not dividing us. That's what we have to change. Who's tired of losing? This is interactive, so get ready. Raise your hand if you're tired of losing. Maybe I should have said, raise your hand if you're not. Raise your hand if you want to win. Raise your hand and pledge to support all Republican candidates. We have to. It's essential. Raise your hand and pledge to listen with respect to Republican viewpoints which you may not necessarily agree with. And we don't have to call them rhinos or anything else. They're just people like us that have different points of view. We don't need to demonize them. We don't need to call them names. We need to listen. And if we disagree, say, yeah, I understand your perspective on that. I'm not really aligned with it. Maybe you could explain why you feel that way. Hear them out. We have to do this. We have to make a fundamental change in how we operate. So everybody remember the fun of COVID-19? Well, this is Republican 23. This is a new virus that each of you are going to get. And you're going to spread it to the Republican Party. Hopefully like wildfire, better than COVID-19. We can't win by damaging our fellow Republicans, by calling our fellow Republicans rhinos or Trumpers or never Trumpers, by doing the Democrats' work for them. We can win by uniting under our Republican principles that remain our bedrock, that are unchanging, by returning to the Reagan big tent approach and getting all the Republicans and some of the independents and some of the Democrats under that big tent. I want you to think about this for a second. Who here knocks on Democrat doors when you're out campaigning? Why? Why not? Okay, but there's a better reason.
You can make flip them.
But if you flip one vote, how many votes do you get? 2. For every Democrat you pull onto your team, for every independent you pull onto your team, you change the race by 2 votes. You take 1 away from them. You add 1 to your pile. That's a 2-vote swing. Now, I'm not telling you to knock on the door of an 8 in voter vault, but a 7, a 6, a 5, and maybe an 8 if you know them. Knock on those doors. Jason Helen, formerly the Grundy County State's Attorney, his wife came from Coal City. The Democrats tried to attack him in Coal City with an attack ad. All of his wife's friends in Coal City came out in droves. He actually beat the Democrats in Coal City because enough people said, I don't like this, she's a nice gal, he must be okay because he married her. And they literally took a hard D city red. It wasn't with style, but it worked. Yes?
I have a question. So clearly your approach has really good results. So I want to ask your opinion on something.
Sure.
I'm totally with you when it comes to name calling. I don't like name calling. I think that that's really uncalled for on any level. And I also think that I've really enjoyed your speech. But I want to ask your opinion on the level of when you disagree with somebody to kind of approach them and ask them, hey, I want to understand why you're doing something. And when you totally disagree with somebody as far as their approach, I totally get that. But what about on the level of a moral issue when somebody's doing something and they're refusing to take accountability for that and they're governing?
That's a tough question. Basically what you're saying is there's a moral dilemma and they're not taking accountability for their immorality.
Correct.
Okay. There are 3 things.
I think that's the trouble a lot of grassroots movements have with that. I mean, that's what I'm gathering.
Okay, but
So I just want to understand, like,
let me try to answer your question.
yeah, please, yeah.
There's an organization starting out from a congressman who started his own organization. You might recognize his name. He was on the January 6th committee, one of the 2 Republicans, a male guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he started an organization. And it sounded interesting because it sounded like they wanted to create unity. So I joined the organization and I was on the organizational calls and I heard them calling people names. And I said, well, wait a minute. I thought we're about unity here. Yeah, but we're going to run those people off. I said, no. Big tent. You're making a little tent. We don't win in a little tent. We need big tent. And so I dropped out. I know where my circle of influence is. I know where I can make inroads and help and push and drive, which is one of the reasons why I made the trip down here today.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, this is not a short trip from Oakland County,
Yeah.
but the food's so much better. So I understand your quandary. A long time ago, I came to the conclusion that if something is illegal, immoral, or unethical, I will fight. If it's stupid, I have a duty to warn. But once I've warned, I have to step back.
Right.
Think about it in that respect.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I answered your question, but I answered
No,
your question.
that totally, like, I totally agree with that, because it's like if it gets to a point where it's like really bad, like, we have a fiduciary responsibility to do something about it.
Yes.
I totally agree with you.
Yes.
I'm on the same page.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the question.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, please, before people start building a gallows and throwing a noose around their neck, please give me a chance to explain myself here.
Well, but no, hang on a second. I want to hear you.
Good.
And everyone here wants to hear you because they're going to respect what you have to say. They may not agree with it, but they want to hear you.
Great. We talk about bridging the gap that exists with people who have differing opinions. You talk about the damage of name calling and the fact that has that has a tendency to intimidate others and repel them. All right, so let's focus for a moment on our presidential candidates. And as much as I love D, the big D, he is vociferous and divisive in his approach in dealing with those that do not agree with him. All right, how do you convince somebody, a rhino, as an example, somebody who doesn't necessarily share your conservative values, but they're Republican, or a Democrat? How do you convince them to consider your party when you have leadership, as good as that individual might be leading this country? He's done a damn good job for the years that he was in office. How do you convince them to vote for your party? How do you convince them to vote for a man who has done very little to bridge or to create a relationship with those that disagree with him?
That's an incredible question. Let me tell you how I do that. And I'm going to use you as an example. When you're running for public office, you're making a personal connection to each and every voter. Every door you knock on, every person you talk with. And this is in my How to Run Political Campaigns class. The most important thing for you to do in this process is close the deal. And part of closing the deal is explaining why you're the best candidate for this role, why you're superior to your opponent. And you can do that without calling your opponent anything. I have more experience, I've done this job, and I'm very familiar with it. But the most important part of this is this simple action. So put down your coffee, or whatever that is, because I'm going to show you what that simple action is. I appreciate you talking with me today. I really found value in our discussion. Can I count on your vote in November? That's how we break that chain. And if somebody says, well, I'm not voting for Republicans because Bob's your uncle is your president's candidate. I'm not Bob's your uncle. I know you. I've come and talked with you. You understand that my views are your views. You're going to throw away someone who aligns with you and vote for those people who don't? How does that make sense? You're not voting for the president, you're voting for me. Answer your question?
I'll accept that.
Think of your circle of influence. Can you influence a presidential campaign reasonably?
No.
Not unless you get inside the presidential campaign. And that's someplace I've never been. Maybe I should try. For right now, my wife would kill me. So think about this though. We've got to get back to the big tent approach. We need to draw in the Republicans, all of them. We need to draw in some Democrats because those are super votes. We pry one Democrat away, we get two. Same with independents. If they're leaning D and we pull them to R, we get 2 vote swings. Those are gold. 2 for 1, go and sign up for that. By uniting around good Republican candidates and supporting them with our shoe leather. I walked for Jerry Weller. I walked in neighborhoods in Wilmington. Let's just say it was an interesting walk. But he was across the street, and we would exchange. If I'd see something, this is back in the days before cell phones. Hey, Jerry! Can you come here a minute? If somebody wanted to talk to him, he'd come across the street, I'd switch to the other side. And we knocked on all those doors. Thousands of doors. I stood on street corners in Kankakee with them, waving at people with his signs, and some people would go by and they'd go, and we'd smile and wave more, and they're like, no! We'd smile and wave even harder. Drove them nuts. By working to amplify the shortcomings of the Democrats by highlighting facts rather than engaging in name calling. The Biden administration drove inflation up 8%. They've doubled the price of gasoline. Those are facts. They can't walk away from those. They're trying to ban your gas stove. That's a fact. It starts today with each and every one of you. When you hear someone call a fellow Republican a rhino or anything else, engage them. Do you hear Democrats calling a fellow Democrat a Dino? No! Why do we attack our own? Point out the shortfall. We're killing ourselves, literally. We're not shooting ourselves in the foot, we're shooting ourselves in the heart. Point out that a divided Republican Party loses, a united Republican Party wins. Every time. Ask them to consider other people's views. Not everything is black and white. There's gray there that we can agree to. Maybe not enthusiastically, but we can agree to it. And I don't have it on the slide, but beware of splitter issues. Abortion is a splitter issue. 50% of the people want it, 50% of the people don't want it. How do you win like that? If you make it a central platform, it kills you. It pulls away votes. Think of your role and your area of influence. And if you are a state level candidate, here is your out. I believe the federal government should make decisions on that. If it's a federal candidate, I believe the state government should make a decision on that. And moonwalk away. Don't get yourself into an ethical conundrum on something that will cost you the election. Almost guaranteed, especially now after Roe v. Wade was turned over. Don't do it. It's suicide. Ask them to return to the Reagan big tent so we can win. Any questions? Read the footnote at the bottom. Like we can afford 4 more years of this?
I got a question.
Please.
Let's say you got a politician that you don't align with their values. They get into office and they work with Democrats, actively work with Democrats in order to get into office. They destroy good people's reputations. They take down most of the people that are good people in the community just to get a seat. How do you work with somebody like that? How do you work with somebody with no moral compass whatsoever, who destroys families, who just
Sabotages the party.
Sabotages the party. How do you work with somebody like that? How do you find the? Because
There's no comment.
I mean, they're.
No, I got this.
Let's hear it.
I got this.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
I gotta be careful because I'm running out of time.
Yeah.
Keep going, don't worry about it, you're not getting here.
This is a fantastic question. There comes a point where you have someone who is not upholding the principles of the Republican Party and they're actively stabbing Republicans in the back.
Yes.
Okay? That's what I think I heard.
That's what you heard.
That's exactly what you're
The way you fix that is you run against them and you beat them.
What if that
Now it's a
person?
divided Republican Party.
Right.
Yes, you do.
What if that person is conniving and
Is that the end of the presentation?
I got one more slide, just says thank you.
So you're saying get them out? That's what you're saying?
You have to run against them. You have to find the best candidate to run against them. You have a campaign plan with opposition.
What if by that time they're out, or the next election, they've already destroyed the community there?
Then you can try to mount a recall campaign, which in this state is challenging, but not impossible. It means you need a group of foot soldiers who are going to knock and make sure they get signatures from people who actually live in the voting district and mount a campaign to recall that person.
What's the percentage?
This is something that can be done, but a lot of people look at it, and much like other people who look at things like this presentation I've made and say, oh, that's too hard. It looks like it's got overalls on it. It looks like real work, and I don't want to do that.
Nothing's impossible.
If it's that bad, fight.
Oh, we're gonna fight.
Okay, but turn your energy into a focused location where it can actually be effective. A recall election, figure out how many signatures do you need, plan to get 10% more than that, get the walk sheets from Voter Vault, get people together of like mind, and it sounds like a whole boat worth in this room, and start walking and knocking on doors, but the first thing you do are facts. Because everything
Oh,
you
we got
said,
facts.
okay, everything you said sounds like it has incredible power behind it, but what has more power are the words without the emotion and the opinions. This person has done, they fired this person, they fired this person, they fired this person, they fired this person, they've increased this tax, they've increased this tax. This is all that they've done that is contrary to what they ran for office on.
Yes. Okay.
That's, you put that in front of a voter who've actually voted, they'll sign so fast it'll make your head spin. Because if you're mad about it, and all the people in this room are mad about it, it echoes. You've ever heard the 250 theory? Everybody has 250 friends. If you've done something really nice to them, they won't tell anybody, but if you've done them wrong, they tell everybody. There's a pretty big pool of pissed off people in this community. Leverage that.
George, can we have one more question from Steve, and then we gotta move on?
What, you know, and I don't know how you'll answer this, but kind of what Chrissy's saying, you know, there's a lot of anger and hostility going on and all over the place. I'm on the county, I see it everyone's like that. Even the Democrats are fighting each other. Well, one of the things that I see is that the Republicans there's a group of what we'll call Trumpers, and there's a group of never Trumpers, and they will never. But the problem is the two groups will never agree because their ideology does not agree. So when your ideology doesn't agree, what you're saying, it don't work. So the only way you can solve the problem is to come up with some kind of common ground between the two ideologies and merge the two groups. It's like, you know, they could get like Mr. Carlson over here, he's got a gun, he's pointing a gun at me. I pull my gun out and I point it at him. Then Rosie pulls out a gun and points it at him. Then Chrissy pulls one, points it at him. At one point, everyone's got to sit down and come up with a solution. But the solution is contrary to the ideology of both sides. So how do you navigate that kind of a thing?
I would hold a summit. And the summit is to unite the Republican Party on a central platform, which, by the way, is in the third slide, what Republicans all stand for.
Right.
And say, okay, can we all agree on this? Find that common ground. Pull people together from that common ground. And then ask, okay, we can all agree on this. all agree that we're Republicans, or even on 2 or 3 of these points. But you answered the question yourself by saying we've got to get both sides to the table. And it doesn't have to be the main warriors and standard bearers. It can be 5 or 6 people in the background who we pull together. But we don't pull them together by saying, we're going to get the Never-Trumpers and the Trumpers together and have a battle royale. We're going to get some Republicans together and talk about our basic principles.
How do you primary with that?
In primaries, I support all Republicans. I don't care what they are.
Well, how do candidates primary that way? People running against each other, fighting for one office.
I do the best I can to explain why I am the best candidate and why people should vote for me. I do the best I can to outwalk my opponent, to outpress my opponent, to get earned media at every opportunity. I hustle, 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 and I make them cry. And if they don't, that's on them. But if it's me and it's my candidate, because I've driven candidates and I'm the guy with the bullwhip, get your butt out in the field and knock on doors. I want to see how many doors you walked. I want to know what your pluses and minuses are. I want to know where you walked. You need a campaign manager that's actually going to manage. It's not a title. It's a bullwhip. So somebody has to push the candidate, and that's you. And if you're the candidate, your own campaign manager, rip yourself.
Not what you can do when your opposition's got money and they're putting out lies of mailers against you. Well, you can knock on as many doors as you want, but you got someone that's being backed by
Yes.
Democrat money, union money, and criminals,
That's
whatever
when my-
else. They're
That's when my phone rings. And I give you solutions, because there's an easy way around that. You pull their D2s and their D1s. You see where the money's coming from?
Did that.
Did that.
Who
Nobody cares. It's been reported, nobody cares.
It's not a question of reporting, it's a question of how you turn the knife. Do you want this county to have leadership that is bought and paid for by Chicago unions?
Apparently nobody cares in this community.
There's a way to turn the message, but it starts with understanding what the voters want.
Well, 15% of the people that vote in this town, so 85% of the people that essentially don't care, or they're not getting the message. So how do you get to those 85%? That would be the key to any election.
George?
And I come on your vote.
Yes, sir.
That's how you do it.
Guys, George is making a great point, but we can gladly have George back with our committeeman for a presentation and training with the upcoming election. Unfortunately, I don't mean to cut you off,
No
George, but
problem.
we got to move on to the next one.
I understand.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all. When I say I want to infect you with the Republican 2023 disease. We need you out there building bridges, not building trenches.
Thank you, George. One more hand for George, everybody. Okay, so, George, thank you again.
I no longer have time to run you, otherwise this is actually riveting, and I want to stay for it. But I got an early morning and I had a colonoscopy this morning. So
Oh, George. George needs a next. Okay. All right, guys. Okay.
I take the whole
So,
shit.
what a lot of people can come for, we have a special presentation by Carmen Morella, Understanding Your Tax Bill. Carmen Morella has some accreditations under his belt here. Carmen holds an MSA, a Master of Science in Accounting, an MST, a Master of Science in Taxation. He is a CIAO from my Italian friends. That doesn't mean chow. It means he is Certified Illinois Assessing Officer. Carmen also teaches a class on taxation. on income tax at COD College, and he also teaches accounting too at Lewis University. You're kind of an underachiever, aren't you?
Yes.
Carmen is also the Homer Township assessor, and up until just recently, he was the manager of Homer Glen. Carmen Morello was raised here in the township. Also very involved with youth athletics, such as Stallions football, and he also took part in the development of Stallions Field. Please, a warm welcome for Carmen Morello.
Right behind your head.
Best village manager this town ever had.
Hello, everybody. Of course, I got a great introduction. Thanks, Jay. How about the last speech? That was great, wasn't it? Unity. Get the Republic back on our side. I like it. That was great. All right, so we're going to talk about understanding your taxes. Everybody has a sheet here. This will give you a lot of information. You can find this on the Will County website. I also will be posting this and my slide on the Homer Township website to give you guys some more information.
There are more handouts in back if anybody needs to do that.
There are two things that determine your tax bill, okay? Property, equity, and the tax rate, okay? Me, as an assessor, worry about the first one, property equities. I don't worry about the second one. The second one, you can talk to Steve Ballage and Mayor Christina Htro. Because those levies come from schools, villages, townships, fire, police, and
Library.
the library. So when I do this, I always look for those things. I put some terms up here. They are on the worksheet. I will go through them real quick. You guys want to just refresh yourself, they're already on the worksheet for you. When we talk about equalization factor, this is the factor that equalizes everybody in the township, then it's everybody in the county, and then it's everybody in the state. So my best theory for that is if I was eating dinner with Rose, Ruben, and Steve, and we all ordered a glass of wine, and we all ordered a pizza, our bill's $25. We're all equitable, right? Now, Steve decides he's gonna have 2 glasses of wine. So now he's unequitable. So we gotta make him equitable. Now we have to change that. So that's a good scenario on how it happens with your house, because a lot of houses are built with a pool, without a pool, with a deck, without a deck. I have a second bedroom. I have 2 extra bathrooms. So in those scenarios, we look for the equitable portion of those homes, and that's what we come up with. So we equalize that with the assessment values. The other thing we have is exemptions. A lot of people are hearing about a lot of things about exemptions. There's a general homestead exemption, $6,000 a year. It's actually going to be raised to $8,000, which we're going to see in the 2024 tax year. Okay, we're always a year behind on our taxes, so we're going to see that later on as it comes up. Senior exemption is a big one. Veterans exemptions. So we see all that stuff. We're going to talk about levies. We all know where the levies come from. Okay, and then we got the market value. And then we talk about tax code, the number used by the county clerk that refers to specific combination of taxing bodies. So we all have a tax law on our bill. We all know what those tax numbers are. And what that does is it associates each individual section of our township and then our county and then our state. Okay, we also have our tax rate. Taxing bodies, taxing districts, we all know what those are. Schools, libraries, schools the biggest one. Total assessment values is our tax base. So as we move forward, this is how you calculate your assessment. So what we look for is your home's market value divided by 3, because our state code says it's a third of your value. You know, times your equalization factor minus your exemptions is your equalized assessed value, okay? So your market value of your home divided by 3, the equalization factor, which makes everybody even. We see that on our bill, and I'll point it out at the end. And then your exemptions. Not everybody gets the same exemptions. I may get $6,000 for my home, but then there's a senior that may get $6,000 plus another $5,000 for that exemption. So a lot of times it's different. Then we calculate in the tax rate. That's your levy times your tax base. equals your tax rate. We all know where the levy comes from. Sure doesn't come from my office. I get a lot of people in there and they say, I need you to lower my taxes. I'm sorry, that's not what we do here at the assessor's office. We look at,
What age qualifies you as a senior?
65 and up. So, when you come to my office and say, you gotta lower my taxes, that's not what I do. What I do is I put the value of your home, if you go back a slide, your market values, that's me. That's all me. I figure that out. And every year it changes because every year a stick of 2x4 raises in price. Or it may lower one year. I'm not sure. But as we look throughout the state, we're looking for that market value. And that's my job, to look for that. Okay? Then you get your tax base and then your tax rate. We'll go through this more as we get through. Equalized assessed value times the tax rate equals your tax bill. So once we get the equalized assessed value, and we know what the tax rate is coming from the county, because all the school districts have to put their levies in by December 31st. All the taxing bodies in our area have to put them in by December 31st. We know what that rate's gonna be. So a $50,000 home at a 0.0604 gives you $3,352 for your home, for your tax bill. All right? And this is a great comparison. A lot of people always come into me and say, well, they lowered the taxes in the township. You're right, they did lower the taxes in the township.
Thanks, Steve.
We can see it here. Our levies lowered in 2022, but our total assessed value of the area went up. Why was that? Because our sale prices went up. Our market values went up. We were selling houses for, and Bruce can be attest to that, more than we've ever seen. So the year prior to that, same thing. You know, you look at your tax levy was high. Your assessed value was all right. I mean, it's kind of in the middle there. Then you got your 65,000. So it's this number divided by 3 over the. Then you have your tax rate, and it gives you 3,009. But look at here. Our tax bill lowered, but look at our tax rate lowered. But look at this assessed value raised. When that assessed value raised, that still increases your tax, property tax, because we're always looking at the market value as assessors. Yes.
So recently, what happened at 2 meetings ago at the village, the big thing, and there was a lot of discussion between, I think, one of the village employees and one of the board members, and it got voted down, but they wanted to change the assessed value for an acre in our area from 80,000 to 100,000. And that would be when the assessed value goes up. That's what you're talking about, correct?
So the school has a right to do that. They have a right to petition new development coming into our village. They have the right to say, listen, we want to assess that value now because it's a brand new development. We need to get the tax dollars because it's going to take a year to catch up. And yes, it's an additional tax. So they're requesting that I don't put the value on it, that the school gets the choice. Through village code, the school gets to petition the village to say, hey, we want to change the assessed value from 80,000 to 100,000 per acre. Okay? So that's even big developments. That's all kinds of developments. So.
Can one of you inform everybody exactly how much all the tax levies for the schools went up?
And this is one of the questions that was going to be a follow-up to that, Karen. By law, and this is where I get a little gray, again, supervising electrician, not a CPA or a real estate agent. But the schools, and we'll take District 33C for example, they had a rate of a 7.55 increase. But how is that when the schools are supposed to be capped at no higher than 5% when they don't go to referendum?
So a lot of times what happens is the schools go for the inflation rate that they need. So they're doing a catch-up. Because in the years prior, they were down low, 1, 2, 3%, and then the inflation rate kicked up.
By low, you mean under the 5%?
Right. So now they're looking for that increase.
Okay.
So that's what happened.
And so they're allowed, because they were lower the years before, to almost double down to make up for taxation that they didn't justify prior. And that's legal.
It's legal.
It's out of control.
There's no cap on it.
Elections have consequences, Jay.
So this is a normal tax bill. I had a good friend send me their tax bill because I can't find it. I pay it and I don't worry about it. So right up here you get your tax bill. This is what the clerk produces for us. Right here is your fair market cash value. You can see this home is at $256,000 roughly. As we go through, we're going to look at this side of your tax bill is your levy. This is your levy side. This is the side where you see all your districts. Now everybody has different districts because if you live in Lockport and you're still in Homer Township, you have the Park District you're still paying for. So there's a lot of different districts, and that code is usually deciphered up here at the tax bill. So what you see as you go down, you see Will County School District, I believe is in this. So this is Will County Road and Bridge, and then as you go farther down, you got the Homer Township Road District. Northwest Homer Fire is what this person's in. School District 33C, High School District, Community College District. Then you have the Village of Homer Glen, which is right about here. And then when it comes across, it gives you your tax rate and then the dollar amount, okay? And as that's totaled up, that's what this number is giving you is your rate. So on this actual tax bill, let's see what the rate is. The rate was what was the rate? Sorry, yeah, they didn't total it. But if you did the math, you can get the tax rate on that. So that's all your levies. So any school district that you guys are working with, or any 33C, anybody like that, you can see if they raise their lower rate by year to year for your tax bill on this side. Now on the other side, this is the equalized assessed value side that I work on. This is the side that I put together as the assessor. Now all my work goes to the county, and then the supervisor assessor reviews our work. Okay? He has to have permission to change our work. He can't be changed on his own. Okay? But what he can do is he can also petition the board of review to change that work. But he just can't go and start changing the work. He has to find out what's going on. He has to look at the assessed values, because that's my job as an elected official, is to put the value on your home. Why do you think they did that? Why do you think they put an elected official to tell you what the value of your home was? Because they didn't just want anybody doing it. They wanted to make sure that the people picked the person that was going to put the value on their home. So there wasn't any kind of corruption or anybody just throwing a number out. So that's a big reason why the code is written the way it was, is because they didn't want somebody, because I'll be honest with you, back in the day, 1836, they were counting sheeps. Our tax code allowed the assessor to count how many sheep you had, and that was your assessed value, because the homesteads were small. So things have changed and evolved, and our tax codes changed and evolved. They stripped out Cook County. Cook County is recommended in our tax code to not follow the same code that we follow in all the other counties in the state of Illinois. So that's where you get all those. So you look at the top, you got your land value. Always important, want to look at your land value. Then we have your building value. This is where I come in and say, I look at the cost of what it would build to your home. This year is a quadrennial, so I'm looking at every piece of property in the village and their home to say, hey, what is the value of that house? And then I'm dividing it by 3. And then we got total assessed value. There's a state factor in there, which is 1. And then as you go down, you got the general homestead exemption. This person has a senior exemption, $5,000. And then it gives you the net value equalized assessed value here at the bottom. It's times by your tax rate, which is 7.7912. Gives you a tax bill of $5,802.26. Okay? So this year, as I'm doing my work in our office, starting in January, because we're quadrennial, we're looking at every home in the village to get a cost analysis on it. Now, we look at it 3 different ways. We can cost it by how many bathroom fixtures you have, how many bedrooms you have, is it a 2-story, does it have an attached garage, a detached garage. So we look at it that way.
We also look at it as a mass. So we'll take a whole subdivision. We'll take that whole subdivision and we'll look at every piece of property in that subdivision on a big chart and say, where are we at? Why is this neighbor higher than that neighbor? Because maybe they came in and fought their taxes in. So we have the right to go in and equalize every single home in that subdivision. We find it's better to do a mass appraisal because neighbors talk. They all come in and say, hey, my neighbor's taxes are lower than me. Yeah, you're right. Your neighbors are, this year's a quadrennial. We're going to reassess everything. So now we're putting all the land at the same value, 18,110. If I went to this subdivision right now, I bet you every home is pretty much on the same third of an acre. So all the homes are going to be at 18,110. So we're going to give them the same land value because land value really doesn't change. And then we're going to look at the house individually. If it's a two-story, a lot of the houses were models at a time. They have the same bath fixtures. They have the same attached garage. We're going to put it at the same value. So then everybody's equitable. Now, where it gets crazy is when we start looking at in-ground pools versus above-ground pools. We look at decks, porches, covered porches, any shed in the backyard. We're going to assess all that property. So we can look at it as a whole, and that's where this value starts to change. So that's where we get that value, and that's where that value, when it changes, usually changes your tax bill. Besides the levies that we see on the other side, which I don't deal with, you know? So, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Does anybody have any questions?
When you rent your home, do you get a tax discount?
No.
I have a question, and this is probably, I guess a question for whoever started taxing us in the first place. Why are our homes assessed? So, for example, I lived in my home since '02. No one has sold my house since '02. No one has bought my house since '02. So, why does it go for the market value now? I'm not going to sell my house. I don't get any of that market value, but yet I get taxed on it.
Because that's how the state statute is written. The market value of the quadrennial year is what I have to assess. That's why every 4 years, now counties, Cook County's different, they're every 3 years. So in Cook County, they do it every 3 years. In Will County, it's every 4 years for us, it's a quadrennial. And we, because of the sale prices and the sale ratio studies and stuff increases, the state says every 4 years we're going to relook at everybody's assessed value because we know either the sales went up or they went down. 2008 was a prime example. Got a lot of housing in the 2009s and 2010s. And we were getting concerned as assessors, you're looking at those house prices dwindling. But yeah, we're assessing in a quadrennial to say they're still at this level. And then the following year they just dropped. So you were seeing lower bills in those times, you know? Mm-hmm. So we do go down, but then we also go back up. And eventually it goes back up. And we could see that in this side here. Like we got 2008, pretty low. Started creeping up in 2009, creeped up again in 2020. Then the tax levy creeped down, and then Steve really came in and banged that out, right? But then your assessed value, 100,000. Then it dipped 5,000. So we had to look at that. Then it dipped another 5,000. So we had 10,000 down, right? Then it started creeping up pretty quick, $8,000. So we had a $10,000 swing, and then we go up to $8,000 in just a year. And then look at the huge increase here. It's a $32,000 increase. We were selling homes like mad here. And that's where we start looking at the data. So, does that help?
No, I kind of know the answer. It makes me like I want to go get my box of tea.
Yes.
Because I ain't getting nothing for that assessed value other than.
So I'm in the same boat you are. I've been in my house for a very long time.
We're neighbors, I know.
I haven't
Just
sold.
asking.
My value of my house is, it's the same. My tax bill goes up every year.
Yeah,
Fast question, Carmen, just to piggyback off your question, Tammy. The way they assess houses and they increase that assessment, it varies by state majorly. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, but you look at a state like California, your tax on that house, I think it's 1.5% or 2% from your purchase price until you ever sell your house. That never goes up again. Am I correct, Kyle?
Yeah, and it's different in Indiana. They do personal property tax. So not only do they tax your home and your land, they also tax your car, your camper, your boat, blah, 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 to get that other residuals.
But then why are their taxes so low in Indiana?
Because the houses, they don't value the houses as high, they value more the property, the personal property higher, so they get the tax money off of that. You know? Yeah, Bruce?
So will green development, both commercial and residential, to the township increase or lower the taxes for people living here now?
So there's always been controversy saying if you put a property next to my home, you're going to devalue my home. That is not true. Because a piece of dirt is cheaper than a house with a piece of dirt. Okay, so you're always going to gain value with the house being developed next to you. So in the same way, when you bring in development, yes, what's going to happen is it's going to divide the tax bill amongst more people. So the tax bill will be less. So as growth comes in and we're all sharing the difference, if we look at, so this tax bill here, you know, it's when we get the tax bill for, let's see, we'll pick on the Village of Homer Glen today.
Bring it.
So the Village of Homer Glen is levying 0.1408%. So roughly 14%. It's $81 on my tax bill. So that was the prior year. This year was 0.1329, okay? So there must have been more home values being built in the, which we can agree on. There's more homes. We can agree on that, you know, Silo Ridge is adding 250 homes. I think we did 170 of them this year. So that had decreased it. So that's how you see the decrease from year to year. You know, you go from 14 to 13, those are homes being built. So it does decrease your rate.
Right, so if like the village or a public municipality doesn't raise their levy, they keep it there.
Yeah.
Essentially, let's say you have 100 houses. The following year, they don't raise their levy, but now you got 120 houses. You're spreading that bill out, and essentially your taxes are going down because of that.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't realize that a larger, you won't see it here in Homer because the growth here is always going to be very slow and monotonous. Where you see it in like Lockport, huge example. If you pull Lockport's tax bill from 2020 to 2021 to 2022, you're going to see that percentage decrease. If they didn't change the levy. Okay? You're seeing that in other towns too. But you're not seeing it here. Did that help answer your question, Bruce?
Does Lockport School District levy, I know levy's not your thing, but can they levy Homer or not Lockport?
No.
Okay, that's what I thought.
They have to levy their district.
By the district.
Mm-hmm. They have to levy the entire district.
Can I get a deduction if I add sheep to my property?
No deduction per sheep.
We're not getting.
No. But that's a great point. Here, and this is where large estates, and we'll talk about this because Homer Glen has some of the largest estates in the area. Prime example. There's a gentleman that owns a home in Homer Glen. He has 10 acres, and his house is built on 5, and the other 5 is conservation easement. And he put it in conservation because he didn't want to pay the tax bill. And that was his way of saving the tax dollar. Okay? And he has a right to do that. Per the code, he has a right to do that. But it has to follow certain parameters. It can't be less than 5 acres. It has to never be developed. It can't come out of conservation. It's stuck there forever, you know, so there's a lot of caveats to the whole thing, you know. We get a lot of times what we get is when these new subdivisions are built and the property line goes into a retention pond, a lot of times the people want to take that retention pond out of their tax dollars. If the builder does it right and plots it out right, it can come out. If he does not, you're stuck with it. You can't do nothing about it. It's yours. You bought it. That's how it works. So.
What about agriculture and commercial properties? Where you have people that are taxed agricultural and are actually commercial businesses.
So we look at a lot of that. So farming property in this village does not go through my office. It is soil, It's different. So when you have a farmland that's 84 acres, we'll do the Purdy property as a prime example, that's our open space. I know it's not taxed, but I'm gonna talk to you why we don't look at it. So what happens is when there's a farm and they're farming, the farmer doesn't get taxed like we do on the land. It's actually by the soil content and the soil samples. So the county actually goes out and tests soil. And if there's certain hydrologists and there's certain chemical makeup, it all depends on that to rate their taxes on a farmer. So it's not even assessed by how many acres they have, it's by the soil. What are they using the soil for? Are they planting corn? Are they not planting corn? If they don't farm that year, the county has the right to go in and say, hey, we're taxing the entire property, regular land. But because it's being farmed, there's going to be crops on it, it's a different tax. It's just written in the code that way.
Carmen, suppose you wanted to put a pavilion up on your property, basically in addition to your house with a roof, but it's open to the air?
I'm gonna assess it and I'm gonna tax it.
And when does that assessment increase happen? The year you put it up or 3 years later?
The year you put it up, if you have a permit, you can get an exemption for construction for the first 3 years.
Okay. And is it going to be assessed for more if it's a closed pavilion with walls on the side? Or?
Yes, it is, because now it's an enclosed. So we look at gross living area. So if it's open, it's not really considered living area, but it is enclosed. So we'll look at it that way. But when you start putting walls, we look at it as a living area. You can put heat in there, air conditioning there, somebody can live in there. So that's when we start taxing it. We start assessing it at that value.
And how about if you remodel your basement? Is that going to increase your assessed value?
It sure will.
And everything?
So if you have a basement that you remodeled and we know about it, we're gonna assess it. If there was a permit pulled out of it, we're gonna assess it. You know, we don't know about it. I can't go in your house and look unless you invite me. I was at a party and we were having a good time and Mike's showing off his brand new basement that he just made in the whole 9 yards. I seriously have to assess that as a brand new construction. That's my job.
Can you throw that in, Mike?
I'm gonna admit, I've never been to Mike's house, just so everybody knows, you know.
Carmen, is there a difference between a wood deck and hardscape as far as taxing goes? Or is it one more than the other, or is it less, or is it?
We're just looking at the size of the deck, square footage. We're just measuring.
So between a wood deck and like just a brick paver patio, that's the same thing?
So we're gonna assess the brick paver separate from the deck. The deck's probably gonna be a cheaper value. I think we're assessing it at $3 for brick pavers, like $4 or $5. So
Something that I've always heard, and I want to know how legitimate it is, that an asphalt driveway is less expensive than a concrete driveway,
Correct.
than a paver driveway.
Correct.
How does that work?
So an asphalt driveway is deemed a less value of a driveway than a concrete driveway, which is more expensive. And then the brick pavers, there's controversy in the assessor's world, whether brick pavers and concrete are more expensive than that. So in our office, we look at the concrete as a higher value, and we look at the brick pavers because we go off the state manual. A lot of assessors create their own cost codes. We pull ours from the state, so I don't get in trouble. State mandates, these are the price for 2x4s. This is a price for a square foot of concrete. This is the price for asphalt. That's how I'm assessing.
So but you still get taxed on an asphalt driveway. It is considered permanent.
Sidewalks do.
Because one of the biggest rumors for years was always that asphalt was not permanent, and you only got taxed if you have a concrete driveway. Same thing with pavers, and you didn't consider it.
Yeah. Still can be assessed.
Okay.
Good. Any other questions?
Okay.
All right.
All right. Can someone please turn the lights on, man?
Good job, Carmen.
Oh,
Thank you.